I'm going to extra.
Hello, I'm Eagle Gardens, Eagle Gardens 1 on Instagram, and this is fucking Talking Shit with Eagle, episode 530. Hopefully, you guys had a great Thanksgiving. I've had a great Friday myself. Looking forward to hanging out with you guys. And Magma Seeds, how you doing, Magma Seeds? You want to tell us how you're doing and where we can find you, my friend?
Disconnected.
Are you there, Magma Seeds?
Yeah, I'm back. I just had a quick disconnect. You hear me now?
I can. Thank you for being with me, my friend.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
So how you doing this evening? And where can they find you?
I'm usually available to find on IG.
So you all good with your audio, my friend?
Yeah, no, I'm just putting myself in the charger in the shed. So I don't lose the battery. But I think I'm good now. If you can hear me, I'm good.
I can hear you loud and clear.
Nice.
Happily loud and clear, my friend.
I'm set up.
So do you have? It's early there, isn't it? It's 4:30, I believe you said, right?
Yeah, it's really dark outside now. Standing in a tool shed, so I don't know what I flipped something over. Okay. Okay, now I have a place to stay.
Oh man, glad you've got a good sense of humor about all of it. So I appreciate you having the wake and bake with me. Do you have something to partake on while we talk today?
I do.
What you got?
I managed to roll one in the dark. Sound effects.
What is it that you've got smoking on over there?
Right now I'm smoking on some old timer haze.
I've got a little bit of Colombian myself.
Nice.
Pretty good. So we might as well start this out from the beginning like we always do. When was the first time that you used or cannabis crossed your path, my friend?
Yeah, I think I did it when I was like 14. Around then.
How did you happen to come across it?
Oh, I had a friend who had some and invited me to come and try some with him. So it was I think it was summer holiday, maybe right before. So seemed like a good idea.
Did you get high the first time? Everybody says they don't. Some people do, some people don't. Did you get high the first time?
I don't really remember being high so much the first time, but I really remember being high like the second time.
So how long between the first and second time?
Maybe like a few months, maybe, or maybe even a month.
Man.
I can't really place it, but yeah, not much time.
So how did it progress from there? I mean, was it something that you liked, or was it something that you just kind of grew on you?
No, I fell both feet in. I really liked. I was smoking mostly hash in my first years, and then I came to the States when I was 17, 18. And then I started to get more like actual weed. And after that, I was pretty much very, very fond of that.
So, would you say you said you've been to the States? Does our hash compare to the hash you started out in with back then?
I think it does not now, but back then it really didn't. I think I saw like one guy that had some hash, and he he heated it like on a hot knife into a cup. So I don't think that was like the most efficient way to do it. So to me, it just seemed a bit off with the hash back then. But this is like 20 years ago. So it's a while.
So, when you say the States, do you mean the United States? Did you come here? Where did you land if you came here?
Yeah, no, I was in Texas, in Odessa for a little bit. And then I was in Virginia in the Shenandoah area. Woodstock.
Well, Texas isn't too cannabis friendly even today. How was it back then?
Uh, I think it was less cannabis friendly. And when I went to Virginia from Texas, it was definitely more normal with cannabis among everybody.
Was you able to acquire some genetics while you were here? How long were you here?
I was just for 1 year, just like an exchange student. So no, I didn't get any genetics when I was there. But I got a little bit interested in growing, and like it started the interest for weed, because that's something that we didn't really have that where I was from.
Do you remember what kind of strains you were able to try while you were here?
No, I think it was just like old kind bud or something like that, and either you got like swag and you got like those bags with all the shake, or you were lucky and you could get like a bag with more like nugs. But no, I don't think they had many names for them. But not that I remember, at least.
So, when did you actually start growing? Was it here or when you got back overseas?
Yeah, that was when I get back to overseas, I started growing again. Because I tried to get hold of people that had some weed, and I found like very few people that did, and the people that did all grew. So I figured I have to learn that, and started learning that so I could.
Was it easy to get others interested in flower over there? It seems like such a weird question, but if hash is the normal, uh, people may not be interested in flower. So you know, was it easy to get people smoking flower, I guess, over there?
Yeah, no, I think like when I started, you had like this older generation that was growing, that had been for a while, um, and I got to know a few of them, and they had like the Northern Light 5 at the moment, and Jack Herrera in like selected clones that they had chosen over many different varieties over the years. So that was like what I got to start with genetics wise, and I guess it was like it wasn't really hype enough that the younger kids knew about any of that stuff. But like most of the stuff that you got from Holland was like of a medium quality. Some of it was good, but not all. So I think weed was mostly too expensive for people, and people didn't have experience with it. So it was just like this rare thing that you could have once in a while if you were lucky enough.
That was my next kind of question. There was, what kind of price was you able to get for it back then?
Like 15, $20 a gram. Yeah.
Back then. So when you first started growing over there, what did it look like? Kind of walk me through the first grow, the first setup.
Yeah, no, my absolutely first grow in Norway was like in my buddy's closet, just with some seeds and halogen lamp, and that didn't work out too good. But a little bit later, when I set up like my first proper grow, I had like these plastic trays with cocoa slabs in them, where you have like a cutout on the top and you stick a rock wool in them. I had like 2 plants per slab. I think I had 20 slabs in a big room, really high ceiling, and they were on like these like they have these roadblock things, like these things that they put out in the road. So I had a few of those that I used like as legs for the table that all the plants were standing on. If you can visualize that. And then everything grew into like a scrog, maybe 1 meter up, and then they had like a meter above that with like buds. And then I had like a 2 square meter Dutch pot system in the end of the room. And I think I had a few deep water culture buckets on the floor.
What are you using for newts back in the day?
That time I was using Canna AB, the cocoa line. I've tried like most nutrient brands back in the days. General hydroponic,
Well,
advanced nutrients.
what was the first thing that you did to up your game from that grow?
That grow was actually really good. So I think when I moved next time, I started going more into like soil, and I've done like both soil and deep water culture after that. And I guess they're both like upping the game in their own way, you know. But I guess like tech wise, I guess deep water culture is probably where I took it the furthest. I had like recirculating deep water culture system. And then after that, I've mainly been growing like soil, and I was doing that with nutrients for a while, and then I started getting like stuff in garden centers instead. And then it's been like a gradual, just using less and less inputs and try to make as much as I can myself.
It's awesome. It seems to be the natural progression for most growers, it seems like. So when did the breeding aspect come into play, or when was your first thought? Well, I'm gonna do a little breeding, and why? Why'd you start breeding? I guess is the better question.
Yeah, no, I used to buy like crazy amounts of seeds, and like all my friends would grow like one cultivar, and I used to really like to look at the different genetics coming out from the States back in the days when before that was really popular in Europe. And when I grew like a bunch of packs, you'd always have like 90% of the packs really didn't interest me that much. And then sometimes, you know, you find stuff that, oh, this one tastes completely different, or it has a much better effect, or grows better, or like many positive attributes. But when you find stuff that stands out, you know, it's definitely something that piques your attention, you know. So that's what really made me want to do breeding, is just seeing like these really nice cultivars show up, and then trying to think of ways that I could improve it and preserve it, so I could share that experience with more people, rather than them having to buy like all the packs that I bought that were shit that I wouldn't have bought again. So basically just like to make more like stuff that I like myself based on my experience.
So how is the cannabis scene over there? When you first started breeding, was it easy to get your gear out or get the word out that you were producing seeds?
Uh, yeah, I haven't really been trying that hard to get the word out. I'm kind of just doing my own thing, and that's not really my biggest focus. But I guess it has to be eventually. It seems by the way of it, but I guess I've been like one of those guys, you know, that back in the days when I started growing, it used to be like this secret world, you know, and everybody that grew was like disconnected from society in a way. So all we did was, most of my friends too that grew, was like you'd grow and then you'd take some holiday time if you were able to, and if you had someone that could watch the plants. So it's like I just think it's like this lifestyle that's fading. And now more and more people are getting all the information about all the cultivars and everything on Instagram. So like when I started, nobody knew anything about anything. There was like a few people on the forums, but other than that, there wasn't much information out.
I love the fact that more and more people are starting to grow. So, what was one of the strains that caught your eye originally? There was, I'll work with you. Which was the first one to catch your eye?
And I've had a few strains I lost over the years that I would have liked to work with. Uh, and I think those were the ones that made me want to preserve like future cultivars I found that were like that. So like I have I guess when I moved my myself to Spain, is when I started to take like the genetics I had already and the new stuff that I tried and tried to isolate stuff that I wanted. So I think like one of the first ones I was working with was actually the Malawi. Uh, but I did like a Kushalope with Bubba Kush way back, but I'm not sure really how legit the Bubba Kush mail was, because it was like from this humble seed organization when it just started, and yeah, no, I don't think that's like the proper Bubba Kush, but I think that was like one of my first process that I made. But I think the Malawi was probably, yeah, the Malawi was the first one that I did like a preservation run on.
Who was the breeder of that?
That was from Bodhi. And that comes from, I think, Afro Pips before that.
So how did you start out just by passing some friends some seeds, and they actually started liking what they seen, telling a couple friends?
Yeah, no, I've had some clubs down here that have people that run, try them out.
So what
We
kind
had this,
of flavors or terps did you get off those first strains?
uh, the Malawi, I think was like I don't have any terp testing possibilities really where I'm at. So I have to use my own flavor references. But I feel like on the Malawi it's like this peppery carrot uh, floral undertone sometimes. Well, it has like this, yeah, like not musky, but like maybe like earthy carrot flavor to it. I think the floral is the most interesting on the Malawi. That's what I'm looking more into, to take out more florals on it.
So as somebody that started out with hash, kind of hash uh, producing strains, kind of the underlying what you're looking for in your strains, or is it just more a good flower overall?
Yeah, no, I used to do a lot of the whole plant BHO extracts back in the day, and I think that's like a really interesting way to see a specific flavor profile, I guess, from the plant. You get like a really nice image of what's in there. But now I mostly smoke flowers, and I do a little bit dry sift. So like I'm doing a lot of testing of some of my work and like stabilizing my situation. So I think when I get like a line that I feel that I want to do just like hash with, I might do that, do some isolator. I'm working on getting a little bit better setup for that because it's so hot. So I just need like a air conditioned section. But yeah, no, like I definitely I used to look for like cultivars when I did the whole plant extracts that would yield the most and have like the coolest taste. But right now I'm more tasting and looking for like stuff that stands out flavor profile wise.
Made me smile when you mentioned the isolator there. We're so used to hearing it the other way, that the bubble, the bubble, the bubble. But well, we often forget that it came from over there. Miss Amelia started it first.
Oh yeah,
Got
no,
much
Mila
respect.
is like super legend. What he did for everybody is just amazing. I think that was kind of one of the cool things when I started out too. You know, I had all the really amazing guys that had been putting in a lot of hard effort to learn everything and put me in the position that I'm able to be in today. You know, uh, and like I remember going to Amsterdam, and all the seed companies were starting to sell feminized. And that's also kind of what made me want to do seeds because I wanted to do regular always. And when I realized, oh shit, all the regular seeds are going away, you know, and I was going around all shops asking, you know, and I think DNA was the only one that I could get regulars of, and I had to wait a few days to get like these seeds that they had to find from their stash because everything in the shop was just feminized. Yeah,
How do you
when
feel?
you
Obviously, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I didn't mean to
oh,
interrupt.
no, no, I'm just trying to find a standing spot there. Checking out the charger didn't disconnect there. In a bit of a weird spot.
As you've been breeding for a while, I mean, what are your thoughts now of starting with a fem stock?
Yeah, I think it has a purpose. Uh, I personally wouldn't choose to do it, and I've heard some, I guess you could call it scientific evidence or quotes from uh, people saying that it degrades somewhat over time. Uh, but like I think it's good if you have like a selected clone and you work it, you know, if you do work with it. But I think it's not like you do a feminized run. I don't feel like people always know that depending on what generation or how much it's been worked, like that they might not get exactly the clone, you know. I think it's definitely like there's variety in feminized seeds. And sometimes I think they're really good and they don't have like a lot of firm tendencies. And there's definitely people like CSI. I think he's doing really good work with feminized. But it's not for me. Like I have a volcano going off here, making all my my females herm because of the SO2 levels in the air. So right now I could produce a lot and have very nice seeds, but yeah, no, it's just not something I'm interested in working with.
I don't blame you, to be honest with you. And the part, one thing you said that does bother me about fem seeds is the variety that you're speaking of there. You know, I would think if I were to put my money down on some fem seeds, I would want that line to be worked well enough that I can pop two here, one here, two here, and not have to worry necessarily about the pheno hunt. You know what I mean? I would want them to be somewhat very similar. You know, it's just because you've isolated that one and then you've started selfing her. So variety in the film, I'm like, you know, if I'm gonna pheno hunt, I'm gonna start with regular seeds, and I prefer to pop regular seeds. By the way, I'm in that I'm on that team as well. But you know, there are people that do need the films, and there's certain times they're handy. Now, I'm not opposed to them. They're not my first choice, but if I've got uh only room in my garden for if I want a new strain and I only have room for a plant or two, then I'll pop a fountain. If I don't have necessarily room to do a regular seed hunt, cut out the males and all that, have the extra space for all that, I may pop a fountain. But that's rare, very rare. So I'm glad to actually hear that that's not your your first reach for something to work with. Now, will you work with a clone? Will you work with somebody else's established work, or do you prefer to pheno hunt your own stock to breed with?
I had my own stock. I don't do any clones. I used to give away a bunch of clones back in the days, but and I used, like when I was younger, I used to share clones with selected friends, but we had like a clone sharing group. But I don't do that now. Like all my stuff now is from seeds that I worked from seeds. And on your point with the feminized too, like I understand like people that aren't necessarily as devoted to giving all their space and their time to trying new cultivars, but just want to have like this one variety that they wanted to try. I totally get it that they do feminized and that there's a market for that, you know. It's like, but I also like what you said to the variety. I think that's where the disappointment comes in many times, and where I actually found that in many of the regular scene lines, I found stuff that was more interesting.
How many strains have you put forward so far?
Oof. Yeah, I made like a lot. I haven't really promoted all my work, but I think I have like maybe 5, 6 that are well tested. And then I'm going through like a bunch of stock, and I'm trying new cultivars too from other breeders to see if there's stuff that I can work with.
What's been the best received so far?
What do you mean?
Which one has been the best received, or which one has been the most sought after or liked so far?
I think the Fourth Yeti is like it's like a Yeti OG from Loompa with a triple OG from exotic genetics, exotic mic, and I think that's like my, like I would say my top cultivar at the moment. But like I have some Josh D OG stuff that I haven't been able to test yet, and I have a bunch of like different stuff from Bodhi that I also need to test more. Crosses that I made with the head trip from Bodhi and some blue Tara. That's really nice. So like I'm pretty much everything I have is available, you know, but it's it's mostly at the moment I'm mostly working, you know, just trying to move forward and do more selection on all my lines. And I'm getting like my situation set up, trying to familiarize with the insects and the pest pressures and the seasons where I'm at. So, and I'm not using much inputs or anything. I'm just using beneficials. So I'm kind of seeing like where the different lines have their strengths and weaknesses, and trying to take my time to familiarize everything so I know where I want to take it.
So, are there some strains that you've got your eye on out there to work with? Do you prefer to work with, or um, how do I say this? I guess. Do you have any? In do you prefer to work with the hype because people look for that in the label? You know what I mean? Can you
Yeah,
see
no,
yourself
I
working?
don't think so. I try not to. Um, I don't think I really have anything that's really hype. I guess uh, I'm looking at the double OG Chem from Rebel Seed. Uh, it's not. It has like that gassy tennis ball OG flavor that I've had it many times before too. You know, with different names, but I like the structure and the trichome production, and I think at least I'm gonna try it with maybe one or two of my males, maybe one like more stretchy narrow leaf variety and like a landrace or something like that, and then try to hit it with a select male from a few of my other lines, and just see what which one of the males that I feel it puts out the coolest results with. But I'm not like in a rush or anything with all this, you know. To me, it's more like I've always grown a bunch of stuff and tested and looked and like, okay, this one is nice. But most of the stuff I've grown, I haven't kept, you know, because there's been new stuff that's replaced it and that's took its place. Uh, so I think I'll probably like the hype stuff. There's plenty of stuff people doing that, so I don't feel like I need to compete with that or even try, you know, to do those things, because I'm sure they're all gonna do it, you know, and eventually they're all gonna be like all those hype strains are gonna be like globally available.
Well, I appreciate you not leaning towards the hype. I'd rather see people like yourself breeding in some originality into their cannabis You know, I think a lot of people reach out for that hype just for sellability, you know, just to be able to, people can scroll through and go, oh, it's got that, you know what I mean? And I don't think cannabis should be about, that's how you shop for your genetics. It's, ooh, it's got that, you know what I mean? It should stand out on its own merit, not necessarily because it's been built off of hype as part of the recipe. So I appreciate the fact that you're bringing some originality into your stock. Uh, Good for you, my friend.
Thanks. Yeah, no, it's I think it's I think it's like it's really easy, you know, if you live in a state where you have clones for sale, to do that stuff at least. To work with mostly hype gear, so it just seems like it becomes really oversaturated. So right now I'm popping a bunch of old Congo and some Panama and some of the Elica to try to look for some more like long flowering cool stuff.
Do you keep a male around for your breeding projects, or do you start anew with every strain?
I keep some around. I do, but if like if the new seed line really stands out, I might try to get like a male from that too. Like I have a bunch of different males, and it becomes like this storage game where you like storing males, and then you just want to set up the right moment so you can introduce it to all your females, and then get that circulation going, you know. So I'm working on making that more efficient so I can do a little bit more process per year.
I really appreciate that as well. You know, somebody that keeps part of the genetic code in the house all the time, in my opinion, is gonna breed instability through a lot of their strains. I don't think enough breeders do that. Keep a stud around because it's so hard to necessarily get to know his traits, what he's going to bring forth into each cross there. And I don't see how a lot of breeders, you know, do that. If it's like a one and done every time, it's more or less a guessing game, I think, what they're putting forth at that point. So, what is it that you see that the male brings uh, to the project?
Yeah, no, that's the thing. I like to test the seeds after I hit it with the male. So like people say they do open pollinations, you know. Uh, I've done that with my Malawi, and like my next plan for that is to do like an open closed pollination. So I'm gonna do more males, but I'm gonna do the pollination separately on the females, so I can isolate which male gave what, you know. Uh, and I think that's something I always have to do, you know, because like I try to select males that are late flowering most of the time, that don't show like early flowering signs. I normally call those, and then I try to use like if they're like tacky on the stem, or if they like have a good nose and like how the nose is in the air and how it is on the stem compared. Uh, and then like I really like to taste the females of the male, so I know what little bit is in the line. to at least have a picture, you know. So I think like and then like structure overall, of course, like if it has like the right structure for what I'm looking for. Uh, not really, not really the biggest males. But like that too, you know. If I have really one big male, I might separate that if it looks super healthy and has like all the pointers that I'm looking for. And then I might keep one that's the complete opposite. So that's I have a bunch of stuff like that, and I just want to do like separate crosses with the males, so I can see which one of them I'm gonna use or gonna keep the work from and continue to work with. But it's not like a quick work or anything. It's not like done. It takes a bunch of time.
It does. It does. Takes a lot of time to put forth a quality strain for sure. So, with that being said, when do you think is the best time to put the male in, introduce the male for seeds? From what the more breeders I've talked to, it sounds like that time really depends on quantity over quality almost. So when do you like to introduce the male during your pollination?
I normally put them in like maybe a week after I start all the females. Unless it's like a really long flowering variety.
Oh, sounds like from what I've heard, you that weighs in more on the quality side. Introduced me that early, and I appreciate that. Awesome. So, on average, how many would you say? How many seeds are you able to produce uh, per pollination?
That depends. Like I run so many different cultivars. So like I have really tall plants that fill up my whole greenhouse that are like 4 meter. And those I get lots of seeds out of. And then I have like smaller plants that are start flowering more because of the equatorial climate. They just go quicker. Uh, and they obviously give less. So some crosses I have maybe a few hundred, you know, but others there's many thousands. Like the big variety is normally like several thousand seeds.
Back to the male there. Have you figured out anything as far as notes that you noticed during your breeding uh, career so far? Some people have noted that like the last two show it would be more your more neurotic or more THC producing male versus
Yeah,
your
no,
first to
I
show
don't
anything like
I
that.
don't yeah, no, I don't keep the really early flowering males, like stuff that shows up, let's say in the veg. uh, I would rather not have. I prefer it if it shows itself to me like inside the flowering room, so I can take it out and select it for like the next time. Like I
Do you
don't,
produce your seeds indoors or outdoors?
I've done indoors and I've done outdoors, so I guess both.
Which way do you prefer? Have you found a difference in the quality of the seed from indoor to outdoor?
Uh, no, not really much that I really would note, you know. But I guess indoor has its benefits. It's definitely more easy, I think. But I'm looking on like making it's like a Volapini. It's a in earth greenhouse, and I think that's gonna be like a little bit more ideal than the outdoor situation I have now. Just because I can control like lighting and stuff a little bit easier, and do a little bit extra veg light in the flowering section.
What's the environment like over there as far as the outdoor?
It's right now this week it's been cloudy for the first time this year with little rain, but most of the year it's really hot, full sun, and almost equatorial, so 12-12 light, and then we have a few months in the summer where it's a little bit more light.
What are some of your biggest problems in the outdoor there? Do you suffer from PM? What's your toughest obstacle?
I think it's just insect pressure, really. It's really high insect pressure. Like
How do you
scaly
deal
bug.
with it?
I do beneficials, and I've done neem before, and I'm gonna do a little bit neem again. Do some neem powder in the soil. But I've been trying to test it without any neem to see if I could get it to work without, but I think I need to do a little bit.
Have you found in particular cultivar that of yours that is seems to work the best for the outdoor environment?
Yeah, no, I think actually the old timer haze is really nice for outdoor. That one takes a lot of pressure without getting so much problems.
Mr. James D. Weaver would like me to ask you about your 24K 3x triple OG strain. Its potency and flower time, please.
Yeah, I would say like that's a 24K from DNA genetics. I think it's a Tangy with the kosher. And I had different phenols of that, and the different phenols were like more tangy, and then not really more kosher, but I guess leaning a little bit in that direction. And then another one had like more of a chemical profile. And I think the flowering time is like 10-11 weeks. Yeah, and they with the hit with the triple OG male. Yeah, that one's really nice.
Do you work with the 24K quite a bit?
I haven't really done much more on it, but I'm planning on. That's why I'm planning on doing like a build out with the in-ground greenhouse, and then I'll have a little bit more space, and I'm gonna do like these pollen tents and separate it into zones so I can do more pollinations at the same time.
So, what do you plan? What are what are you? Do you have some seeds right now that are on your pop list to work with?
Yeah, no, like I'm working on the fourth of the Yeti. I'm working on doing F2 with that. So I've selected like one male from 50 seeds, and then I'm doing more now to select the female. And yeah, no, I have a little bit trouble with the volcano on my neighbor island. So because of that, I'm doing like a limited test now, and I'm probably gonna go back and do it again if the volcano gives me too much problems, because like it's like a fem spray. Like everything turns herm under it, so I can't really do like proper testing as long as that's still going on. That's why I'm also like thinking when I do the new greenhouse that I might be able to do like a filter on the intake, or see if I can work myself around it.
What is the average flowering time for your strains? It looks like most of them lean towards the sativa side. Is it? Would you say that be somewhat true?
Yeah, yes and no, I guess. Like the last years, I've done more long flowering varieties, like narrow leaf stuff, landrace, but my more my more tested stuff is more like hybrid. I'm still working a lot of the long flowering lines. Like the hybrids,
Do
I
you
feel
think
like
that
give them more like you say, less like phenols, and the more like uh, really close to the parental lines with an improved expression. So like the male that I used, I felt like it upped the potency on all the females and added like a good structure. And that was what I chose that male for, because it was really high potency line, but it was a little bit hard to find terpier moms. So it was like not blend, but it wasn't really that stand out on the terp. So I figured it'd be like a good potency boost, the triple OG, and that it would just add good structure, but the potency was really what I wanted to boost. And from all the stuff I tested, I've been really happy with it, and it's added like like a lemon undertone on some of them, and others it's like made like these new flavors. But I'm still testing a bunch of the stuff that I've done back then too. There's too much to work through. Really.
So, in your opinion, would you say that the more intense cannabis lies in the longer flowering strains?
Uh, uh, like no, is it different? Is it different high? I guess maybe a little bit more like electric and like talkative and like energizing. I think, but you smoke enough of it becomes sleepy too, you know. Whereas the smaller, more narcotic varieties many times are more sedative. Uh,
You've got a fan in chat, my friend, and Mr. James C. Weaver. He's giving you much props on your Zorro Twimes. 24K LZ and your ancient OZ, triple OG, he says, are epic in your lineup.
oh, that's much appreciated. Yeah, and I apologize to chat that I can't be in chat today because I had a power short out, so I wasn't able to connect like a second machine with the chat. So I don't see any of it, but I appreciate them.
I'm grateful that you're able to connect with me, my friend. And I'm grateful for you popping into chat all those nights, my friend. It's been an honor to see you in chat, and even more so to have you on the show this evening.
I appreciate the invite. Honors all mine.
So, have you had in your cannabis journey? Has there been any specific time span that really stands out in your journey so far?
I feel like it's been like one continuous journey that I've been on for like 20 years. I guess it's like when COVID happened, you know, that wasn't much of a difference, you know, like I've lived like that for years, isolated and kind of used to smell so much weed, you know, you'd keep your distance to people, you know, so people wouldn't look at you too strange. Uh, so it's almost like the whole world just caught up with us. But I think it's like
I
here in
know.
Europe, it's really stigmatized. So it's like it's quite isolating, you know, to a degree, especially my age. Like I'm close to 40, so I think it's easier for the younger generation than it was for us in one way, you know. But we had it made easy by the people before us again, you know.
Yeah, when this thing started, I was the same way, man. I was so used to being introverted in my garden. I was like, well, this is going to be another day. Just another day, and I couldn't be happier to be locked in anywhere but in my garden. So it wasn't too much of a shock for me either.
Yeah, no, and actually it's been really nice. Like that's been time that I've been able to, like in the mornings when you're on, I'm able to go on there and like see the cool guests you have on and the cool people in chat. So I think it's been good community wise. But like
Is
I guess
cannabis
like
becoming more normalized over there nowadays?
yeah, it is. It's more normalized, but it's also changing. You know, like it's like it's being whitewashed. You know, I think like some of the integrity has gone away. You know, but other points it hasn't. You know, there's a lot of improvement mainly. It's just like you said, you know, like everybody working with the hype stuff. It creates like a atmosphere that's very inviting for that, and maybe not so much for everything else. So it's just
How
like
is it over there? Is I'm sorry, I
what?
keep interrupting.
No, no. What were you saying?
I was gonna. Well, I was asking, is it pretty much money that's stepping in there right off from the get? I mean, has the little guy had a chance to even get their foothold in, or has uh, just the big money coming through and like steamrolling through the scene already, kind of ripping the heart out of the cannabis community? That's kind of what I'm getting from you there. Is it's already going corporate, and it's already kind of it's the little guy market already.
Oh, actually, there's a bunch of social clubs here in Spain. So most of them are like run by small individuals, but I think like the legal model they have done here, where you can actually get like a license, that's very high price to get in. So it's a little bit restrictive if you want to work like serious with it. Uh, and they do like different things in different regions. So some places they'll have like a strike down on it, and others they won't. So it's just like there's there's so much hype, you know, and media and Instagram and everything that it's kind of hard like to find the red line. Uh, so it's just like the whole culture is just like different, you know, than it used to be when there was like I guess when there was like less cultivars and less seed companies, and you get like something and you could taste it, and maybe people had like some integrity that what they said was what it was. I think like that's kind of gone out the window, and there's a really high degree of people just buying like packaging, and then they put like whatever name is hot at the moment on the package.
I think you're right there, and that's a sad way to purchase cannabis right there, is through the hype, just because you've seen somebody else walk around with a t-shirt on, or you just seen it flash somewhere and you think, oh yeah, that's what cannabis is, that's what I've got to have. uh that's a sad day, I think, when it boils down to that's how people are going to end up choosing their strains. And that's awesome that you guys still have the clubs there. Basically that's the level I've all that's honestly where I would like to be. We've had the clubs here in Michigan for some time. The few that are left are just fighting to keep their head above water right now. Maybe as the federal market steps in, and maybe that's a thing that could come back, and I hope that's something that comes back, because that's, ultimately that's where I'd like to be, is in that kind of connoisseur or craft market right there. I i just i don't think I would ever be happy on a large scale uh production type cannabis farm. I don't know how I'd act. I like that intimacy with my cannabis and trying to produce the best quality I can. And I just think that at some point on a larger scale like that, where you've, especially when you're trying to market it like that, I think somewhere along the lines quality is lost. And that right there is something that's really important to me. I before I did this, I was a carpenter, and at one point I started building custom pieces, furniture, tables, uh, all kinds of shit. And would end up like limiting the amount of pieces I would produce. And a lot of people would always ask me, this is nice stuff. How come you don't put this out on, the internet, or try to sell this more on a larger scale? And that thought always terrified me, because I was always afraid of 500 orders of in quality spinning out of control. So I'm glad to see that they still have the smaller guy market or clubs there, where it's more of a craft cannabis than trying to produce as much as you can just to stay alive and compete with that on a larger scale market.
I think it's kind of mixed though, because it's really saturated the club market. So unless you know what you're doing, it's a lot of competition for them, I guess.
But that's okay though. See, this is what I found out with that's where the grower and his heart lies matters 100%. Because that I did see that exactly what you're saying here in the clubs that we had in Michigan. Tough market. You know what I mean? Most times the one that I frequented probably the most, you would go in there, and most days, once you got in the loop, you were like guaranteed a spot for next week or your next day. So basically, it took you a while to get in on the everyday basis if you were that lucky. So basically, if you went in on Monday and you were lucky enough to get in on that Monday, then you had the option of coming back next Monday. If not, then you had to go back to pretty much like the lotto system, to where they were that full, somebody didn't show up, they draw a number. Okay, you get to come in today. And the market can be really tough, but once you get into that market, what I found is the same shit that we're talking about right fucking now. And that is hype, hype. Everybody believing that that name will carry them through. And sometimes, yeah, it does. But what I found sitting there at my booth time after time was, I'd watch the patients go from table to table to table to table. And back in that era, we were still able to present the patient with a jar. You know what I mean? You could just line up your strains in jars at the end of the table, and people would come up and be able to look at your cannabis and put a nose to it. And out of probably 30 tables, most of those tables, I would say 20 of those tables, if not 25 of those tables, would be running hype. And it was a dogfight. It was a friggin' dogfight amongst themselves. Who had the denser nugs? blah, blah, blah. But if you were somebody like myself that cared more about the having something that stood more out to you, I outsold every time. Every time they would stop at my table and sniff them jars and go, "Ooh, what's this?" Because it was so much different from the 50 jars of hype they just sampled. It was easy to stand out in a market in a sea of hype. So, I think it takes strains like the ones you're breeding that are bred not necessarily with hype, but with heart that will stand out in the markets. I think that's what the cannabis consumer ultimately is looking for are the strains that stand out. I don't necessarily think they want what they're being fed on the t-shirt.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think you're absolutely right, and I think like what you're saying too is like what you chose there is like you probably took the one that you smoked that you liked the most and that you felt was like the best one, and that's the one you want to represent. Whereas if you're growing a hype, you're not doing that selection, not necessarily, because you already took that choice, and like this is the cultivar it's going to be. Uh, Whereas like if you're just looking for like that special flavor, and you're not really looking for even the name, it becomes a little bit different, I think. And especially once you've tried a bunch of varieties and you start to get a certain like your own taste, I guess, just like with anything. Uh, then it's like almost like bartender or anyone, you're just like showing what you think is interesting.
Which one of your strains would you say has the most a unique terp profile of what you offer?
Oh, most unique, that's really hard to say because like those body lines I worked really special, and some of the African landrace stuff also is really special. But like the 24K mix and the Yeti with tripology is those are like I guess like more like I would say mainstream uh, flavors that are really good. Whereas the more long flowering varieties and stuff, you get like these strange licorice undertones, and you can get like a metallic and all kinds of fruits and like strange chemicals. So I think that like that's what I think is most interesting, but it's like taking it out and being able to work it further and replicate it, so you can kind of share that experience.
So does how big of does excuse me, how big of a part does bud structure play in your selecting for strains to breed with? Uh, Bud structure and trimmability. Because we've all had some that were just awesome strains, but just shit to trim. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah,
Or
no,
didn't
absolutely.
necessarily have the best bud structure. So how does that come into play when you're hunting for something to breed with?
Um, when I used to do indoors, I used to be a little bit more on that. And I don't really like too bushy stuff, just by experience. But on some of the landrace stuff, I'm not really trying to find stuff that's easy to trim. So it's like I might work it into the line eventually and try to like I would like to do like several generation with my select lines and continuous work on them, especially the stuff that I really like, the terps on that I feel like they stand out and have a unique profile. So once I have like the profile I want, I think it's all about enhancing that profile. And if I'm able to get like a really good structure with that, then obviously that's a goal. But I think like PM and pest pressure and resistance like that is more important. So if I'm gonna choose like the right pheno, that's more like the direction I'm going first. So it's not like something that's controlling where I take my lines.
So, is it safe to say that some of the more leafier to bud ratio strains are some more of your terpier strains? I've kind of find that to be true myself than more of the dense, straight up just fat nugs. The more leafier ones I've always found tend to be the more louder strains. Is there any? Do you find any truth to that?
I guess yes and no. Like some of my hybrids aren't really that leafy, and they're really loud. So I guess it depends like what the cultivar is.
What is your best producer?
24K is maybe one of them. But all the Malawi work that I've done too, and the Zambian stuff also produces really heavy. And then like most of my cultivars, like if from my own experience, if I have the veg capacity and I can train them either into a screen or something like that, I can get really good yields with most cultivars.
What is your best hash producing strain?
Maybe my head drip line. Yeah, that one's, but that's still in the works. But
So
I think they're
coming
all good.
from
They're all good to make that with.
good days. So
They're
coming
not.
from a region of the world where hash became was more key in the earlier years, how would you say the evolution has changed today? Would you guys say that you're uh, more of a leader in hash today because you guys had such a rich origin in hash? I mean, hash has come a long way. I mean, would you guys say that you guys are kind of maybe taking it to the next level over there?
I think the guys in Morocco are. I think they're taking it to the next level. I think they're doing like the fresh frozen dry sift. And then they do
How
like
is the market? I'm sorry.
what?
I keep interrupting.
No. What were you saying?
I was gonna ask, how is the hash versus flower market there now? Uh, are people more wanting more flower versus hash, or vice versa?
Yeah, no, they want more flour, but I think they're buying more hash because it's cheaper. And then like the really, really good hash, I think goes to like a little bit to France and stuff. Maybe a little bit up, a little bit more up, but not much. The really high quality, uh, like France and Spain, and some of it goes into some export, but like the best quality is really hard to get a hold of. Like it's like 99 pure dry sift, that stuff.
You see more of a dry base hash there, dry sip base hash, uh, than a more of a water produced hash.
Yeah, and it's starting to become really good, the quality. They're starting to do like next level quality. Yeah, no, I think once Morocco's gonna be able to export, people are gonna have a good time.
I always think it's crazy that the way that we've grown up here with the flour, and you guys pretty much had the hash there, and now it's almost flip flopped where you guys are kind of discovering the flour, and we're discovering uh, the quality of hash over here.
But
It
they haven't
always
started
makes me
smoking pure
chuckle.
yet
We're
there.
so far behind.
They don't smoke pure yet here. Not much. Most people mix tobacco.
Why so? Why tobacco instead of just mixing it with some cannabis?
I think it's like from the time when everybody smoked hash, they used tobacco, so uh, a lot of the weed it don't burn that good if it's not well made or well dried, and then it's really easy to burn it when they have the tobacco. So people don't necessarily use a lot of tobacco, but yeah, most people that I know use a little bit tobacco.
Again, a concept that seems so foreign here. I know that I've seen people mix it like that in like a bong, or basically, I guess it's a blunt as we call it here, a tobacco wrapped joint. Uh, Again, it's always been hard for me to mix the two. I've never been a huge fan of tobacco, so again, it sounds so foreign to me.
Yeah, no, it's I don't do it myself, so it's I can't like smoke joints that other people roll. If it's tobacco in it, it'll just give me like a nicotine shock. I feel really sick.
So it's like far back as far as like testing of your stock goes, how would you like to see when you pass your seeds to somebody? What are some of the things that you're looking for your testers to do? Is there a certain way that you'd like to see them brand the first time? Uh, do you have uh, a set schedule for them, basically?
No, nothing really.
I always kind of thought myself when you're kind of testing that you should try to manipulate the plant as least as possible that first round, minimum, to just kind of see what you got, to see the structure of the plant,
Yeah, no, I try to do
the
that
way it should
myself.
be.
When I test stuff. When I'm doing selections, I try to do like see how the natural growth patterns are and see the structure of the plant, so I don't just like spread it out into a frame and scrog it.
I think uh, a lot of testers necessarily don't keep that in mind sometimes. That should be the first round before they necessarily go in to start manipulating the plant, and, like you say, into a scrog or uh, multiple toppings or manipulation of the plant in general.
I personally think the tester, like if someone's testing my seeds, they're free to grow them how they feel, you know. I just want them to taste the variety and hope that they like it, you know. I can't ask for more, you know.
Right on. Yeah, you guys are definitely, it's, you know, gambling every time you guys put together a strain like that. You know, as good as it sounds to you, it's always tough to introduce it to the masses there. Uh, do you have like kind of a marketing schedule? How you like to introduce your strains? You just really rely on word of mouth.
Yeah, no, I don't. I don't do much marketing. Uh, Hopefully, the marketing will handle itself. Yeah, no, I really just I don't know. I think like my main goal is just like to work on my lines uh and improve them and find like new stuff that I want to work on, and then I'll just have my seeds available, and I hope that the people that try my cultivars are happy with them, and that more people get to try them. So no, I don't really. I guess I probably should have like hardcore marketing plan, but I don't. Uh, I'm mainly interested in just growing and not really too interested in the other part.
Do you have any interest in ever dealing with the large scale market, or do you always have an intention to stay more like of a mom and pop shop, a small batch, uh, you know what I mean? Kind of
Yeah, no,
a variety.
I have some talk with some like different people here and there, but uh, like I would definitely like to get my cultivars out to as many people as possible. Uh, and but like I don't know if I want to be that guy, you know, that has like the big ads in the high time or anything like that. Or at at the moment, I'd rather give away like more free seeds to patients and stuff like that.
Right out. Appreciate that. And again, I guess that the bigger, larger scale type thing always worries me. It's always, and again, that's why I would prefer to do myself to stay on the smaller side of things. Is that quality control? Even now, you know, we're able to deal on a larger scale market if we're willing to take our stuff to a processor let them maybe or maybe not smack their sticker over top of mine. And then what happens to the packaging and whatnot from there on kind of worries me. How long did it sit out before it got packaged? How long did it stay packaged on a shelf? Things like that. So it would scare me as a breeder to be on the larger scale of trying to keep up with stuff like that. One larger grower not growing it right or have a bad experience or whatever. It would be terrible. Even you know that's I guess that even on the smaller scale, you know, a grower can fuck up a strain, not grow it well, and pass it around, and you know, create a bad reputation early on like that as well. So I just you have to have
You know,
good faith in the people that get it first, I guess.
I think you're onto something. Like, definitely, like if I were to have like or for anyone, that has like a brand and they want people to cultivate their brand cultivars, uh, it's probably a good thing to have like a way to do it so it becomes like a recognizable product, because I think that's what the market expects. But it depends how you do it, like for me at the moment, I'm fine with anyone doing whatever they want with my cultivars. uh, I I'd rather just like, I think if I would improve on anything, I just have like more space to run bigger pheno hunts. And I think there's almost no limit to how much space I could dream about having. And that would still be like my main focus, I think, just to try to look for cool cultivars.
We've talked about kind of not wanting to breed with femmes, but is that something you've ever will think about yourself producing fem seeds or even autos?
At the moment, not really. Uh, I can't say like in the future that I never would, but uh, it's not really a project that I'm planning on taking on. I don't see the motivation for it at the moment. Uh, so no, and autos, I used to be more interested in autos because I wanted to do like when I was living in a colder climate, I wanted to do autos just so I could like I guess like climatize a cultivar and get it to create seeds outdoors, and so I could get more and more and finish it within the frost. Uh, so I've looked into that before for that reason, for like the northern countries of Europe, the colder parts. But I'm not really interested in autos. No.
Again, that's another thing right there I'm concerned about as far as quality. I don't understand how on a large scale they'll work either. Again, you would want to produce something that has a good consistency, and I just don't. Is Have you ever ran autos? I've only ran a few myself, but are they that consistent to where the flavor, the THC, uh, amount and everything is the same, that you could grow 1,000 of them side by side and feel good about putting them all in a bag? You know what I mean? We've talked about this a couple times. I have, myself and a lot of other growers that have a little bit of self-respect. We have hard times mixing our phenos. You know what I mean? If we've got a few different here, I have a hard time that giving a patient 3 and 4 mixed together. You know what I mean? Much less grow 1,000 autos that could probably be good, bad, good, bad, good, bad, throwing them all into a basket and go, that's my final product. It's you know what I mean? Do you think that there will ever be consistency to where they can put out a seed that consistent in an auto form for a large scale market?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think the CBD Oregon, uh, I think that's what it's called. But I think they do like feminized auto flowering work, really large populations, and from what I see, there's people doing really good work. It's just like I think it's just about finding like the focus and the goal and just working towards that. And I think like almost all goals should be approachable in most regions, but it's time, time and space. But they do really cool work. Like the videos they have on Instagram is really worth checking out. I think it's Oregon CBD.
Do you see the autos being actually a flower market, or do you think that will just be something that is utilized for extract?
Yeah, no, I think mostly extract and maybe like some smokable flowers for people that don't want to get high. But I'm sure they're gonna be able to make like stuff that gets you high too. So I guess it depends on price and taxes and stuff like that. Like if you, I don't know if you have that in the States, like uh, interstate tax. Like in Europe, like the different countries have like taxes on different products that they produce, so they won't import so much. So I think that should probably play a part, like how like protective the agricultural taxes are, if it's a market for it.
Question from Chad. They're asking, what do you think the appropriate amount of plants should be for a pheno, or at least of your gear? How about that?
Oh, you should be able to find something in a get like a normal pack. You should be able to find something that you like. I think so. Like in the 10 pack or 15 pack or 20 pack, you should be able to find something that you like.
So I guess so are we gonna find a few different selections there, a small variety, pretty well have it nailed down to what you're going to find in the picture in the catalog, or will you find multiple pheno selections with a little bit more variety, more kind of an F1 type thing?
Um, it really depends. Like the landrace, the genetics that I'm working with, or like formerly landrace seeds, formerly known as landrace seeds, they throw in a bit more variety. They can be more just like all over the space because they're not that similar genetically when they start. But I think if it's too much variety, I might just do a little bit work on it, especially if not all the varieties would be what I'm looking for. Like if I find something that's not that desirable, I might try to take it like to F3 eventually, or maybe even further. I prefer to
You
work
ever
like
gambled on a runt?
what?
I said, you ever gambled on a runt?
Yeah, no, I try to take like all the seeds I grow, and if they look a little bit shaggy, I try to give them like maybe a new clone and see if that works out. It often does.
I've actually found that some of my runts, when I've done some seed pops, have been some of my more special phenos. Uh, they've just been more than once. I've been like, oh man, I'm glad I didn't give up on you. So when you're popping seeds, I guess, is it all about vigor, or do you give the runt a chance to see if they're going to produce something special before you necessarily ask them?
Yeah, I do. I do. I give them a chance. But I might, if they look like horrible, I might try to just like re-veg them first.
Right. So how do you dry your cannabis? Are you a wet trimmer and then kind of do whatever, or do you prefer to hang your cannabis and do your dry
Yeah,
trim?
no, I do like large fan leaves. And then I separate the branches so I have like enough airspace that they're not like hanging onto each other. And then I hang dry on. I have like close racks now, but ideally I want to have like two like almost like for curtains, two lines like that in the ceiling where I can attach like these screens. So I hang dry.
I've heard people necessarily talk about the quality from a wet trim dried bud versus a whole plant hang. And I've kind of come up with a theory about the two. And I just really think it's how quickly the plant necessarily dies versus the, the overall drying technique.
And I think it bleeds a lot through to the leaves. Like there's like this stuff inside the plant, you know, that I feel like it leaks out when you do like the wet trim of all the small sugar leaves. Like I hand trim the sugar leaves and everything later on. I do that. I do dry trim after I do the first trim.
I do definitely think there's something different from one to the other, but I don't necessarily think it's a quality thing. I think the flower necessarily, you can take the same plant, dry it in two different ways, and it will be quality either way. There will be I think there'll be a slight difference, but I don't necessarily think it comes
I
from
almost feel like
the
it's
reason
a
some.
little bit harsher, almost like if you don't cut all the leaves immediately, it's like the chlorophyll gets more time to evaporate and it gets a nicer cure. Whereas if you trim it really fast, I feel like maybe locks it in a little bit more. It's not able to release as much toxins, or I don't know, something like that.
I think that it's actually when you leave something on there like that, like the more when you buck off more of the fan leaves and you leave more of the sugar leaf on there. I've heard a lot of people argue that, leaving the sugar leaf on there surrounds the buds and kind of keeps the terpenes in there a little bit. It helps or aids in the curing process. But as I've kind of dove a little bit deeper into organics and kind of got a little bit hippy dippy on that side of things, I've kind of view it in a different way these days. And I think it's more the plant's going through something just a hair different in the dying process. And that's what it is. It isn't a drying process, it's a dying process. The plant's very much alive when you cut it at the base and hang it. And as it's hanging upside down there, the plant has nutrition and water stored in them leaves, a little bit of time to have eat on something during the dying process. So I think while it's hanging upside down, it's still definitely doing something, making some subtle changes, living for a little bit more time because it has availability of water, nutrients left in it from the material left on there. So I think that's more of a dying process that's in the changes there. It knows it's been cut. It's kind of putting out a little bit of chemical changes in the last minute. I don't necessarily think it's just because the leaves have folded over and keeping that smell in. And again, I think that it's got a lot to do with it because, well, I actually started trimming and drying a different method a long time ago. I kind of use a dryer. I'm not going to get into names or anything like that, but I didn't notice any difference, and neither did my patients from uh, the wet trim and hang process that I used to use versus the quicker method of drying, wet trimming and drying at a faster rate. And I think what it boiled down to was I was just killing off the plant just a little bit faster. You know what I mean? I think that's the ultimate goal, is get it to die out as fast as you can get it to die out. And, what do you think of what's going on in the two different
Well,
methods? Do you think that
uh,
one is more terpier than the other, or can you bring out more quality in the dry hang?
I really like to do like a drying until the stem gets like a snap sound throughout, and then do a jar cure. And I think it's like you can keep like the sugar leaves on, but like all the rest of the leaves you can take off before you put it in the jar. And I feel like that kind of, it's just like more concentrated, the terpene profile on just the flowers and the sugar leaves than on like the smaller leaves that are around the bud. So if you do that and you burp it in a jar, I think it definitely improves the product over time. The longer you're able to do that, almost, if you can store it dark, that's my preferred method to go to. But it's another question getting through all the stuff you have to trim. That's the other part. It's very fun in the beginning when you start to grow to trim, until you start to trim for like 3-4 weeks continuous, day in, day out. Yeah, then it's not so much fun afterwards.
No, that's why I asked about the trimmability there too. I used to not to mind trimming so much, but these days, yeah, so many years into it, trimming has definitely lost its luster. So a lot of times in strain or pheno selection there, uh, trimmability definitely plays a big part in my selection if it's going to stay in the garden. That's for sure. If I can speed up my trimming time in any way, shape, or form, unfortunately, I'm leaning towards that way at this stage of the game.
I
Unless I
know.
could get some help at some point.
I totally understand you. It's it's very time consuming.
So, are you working on anything new that isn't available? Is there anything about ready to drop?
I'm going to hopefully be getting the Coco Diaz that I selected a few phenos from crossed with my fourth of Yeti, and then maybe some double OG cam also. And then I'm starting a bunch of new landrace stuff and like a bunch of different stuff. So I just need to get stuff in and find space and put in more in the greenhouse, fill it up.
So tough to keep everything, isn't it? And how do you keep a lot of things? Do you keep mothers? Do you keep what I call cup moms? How do you preserve?
Yeah, no, I have a big veg area where I have all my mothers.
Do you think you lose anything from preserving your genetics from cut to cut to cut to cut, or do you think it's better to keep a mother as long as you can before necessarily starting again from one of her babies?
I prefer to keep mothers as long as possible, but sometimes like if I feel like I got what I wanted out of the mother, um, I might continue to work on some of the next generation stuff and just move forward, you know.
That leads me to another, what I feel is good question there. How do you necessarily, as a breeder, intend to preserve, excuse me, some of your lines? Do you keep stock back that you could maybe uh, pheno hunt or BX kind of from, or do you plan on keeping long-term mothers and fathers to reproduce? Do you think that tissue culture might be a thing as far as preserving mom and dad in that way at some point?
Yeah, no, I think tissue culture is the way to go. It's just a little bit getting set up, but I definitely think tissue culture is the way to go, and that's what I want to do eventually. It's just getting the space set up and having time to do it. But
So
yeah, no, I think that's really a good way to preserve genetics. And at the moment, I just do moms and I keep seed stock, so I can uh, at least have enough to work further my lines. Uh, and some stuff is no more limited than others. So
because there always is that possibility that, like it or not, that it could become that next hype strain. You know what I mean? And it's in demand and forever in demand at that point. And that's why I ask it if it does take off like that, and you have to recreate or reproduce the strain. I don't feel a lot of breeders are necessarily as honest as they should be about, say, next round stock. I don't think a lot, as many breeders actually hold the original mom and pop and reproduce second batch like that anymore, to be honest with you, or very few.
Yeah, no, I think it's all part of like the problem with keeping stock around for a long period. Uh, I think that kind of, and like I guess now in the States it's much easier because you have like the metric or something like that, and you have like all these tissue culture labs, and I think that's going to get to Europe too, and then eventually more and more stuff is going to get banked. But I think
What
if you have
I'm
like a
kind of
big
hoping
big
for.
seed, if you have a big seed stock, there's lots of stuff that can be worked out too if you take the time.
Yeah, but that's the thing. You got to hope that breeders got that kind of time to necessarily put in that kind of work for. Well, maybe so. By that time, I'm sure he's got a lot of love for the work he's put forth. But I think that's why how genetics necessarily get so watered down or have gotten so watered down. I don't think a lot of the stuff that we work with uh, is necessarily what we started with. Too many people necessarily trying to preserve and not being forthright that they're the one that preserved it. You know what I mean? This is my
Yeah.
version of sour D. You know what I mean? This isn't necessarily the original breeder stock. I think every time that happens, we get a little bit further and further from the original creation. That's why I kind of I'm really excited about the tissue culture for, and hopefully it becomes more available and cheap for your breeders, because it'd be so nice for you guys to be able to put your best phenos into a vial and be able to work with them at some point. Or moreover, as we're talking about, you make a strain, it becomes just this out of control hit. You can always pull, mom and pop back out of in vitro there and be able to pretty close recreate that strain anytime you want to, just by hitting the original mom and dad together over and over and over again. Will be hopefully with that technology, you won't have as many people out there trying to preserve, you know what I mean? Because the threat of losing it won't be there anymore because it's all backed up in tissue, I guess.
Yeah, no, I think you're right with like preserving lines and cultivars. That's a good way to do it, like it's like the apple varieties we have in the supermarkets and stuff like that. Those are also kept in tissue culture to preserve those genetics. But I actually think it's also cool, when people do their own remixes on stuff, because like it's not until one guy, makes that one cross that you find that special terp, and the more people experiment and have fun and just grow to grow, and maybe not think about anything else. I think that's when you're able to find and create a bunch of new cool stuff, and I don't think there's like
See,
limits to finding
that's
new
where
stuff.
I'm that's where I terrify again about the quality and my name on the product.
Yeah.
Again, here you've put so much passion into that strain and work that, God, in years practically into a strain that you put forth, and this is amazing. I put my name on this, and I want the world. This is the representation of that I want the world to remember. And then, like you said, you get somebody else necessarily that does their own recreation of the strain and puts it out there and doesn't, like we're talking about, doesn't necessarily say, hey, this is my version. And then it isn't as good as what you put forth. Now you've got somebody else running around going, yeah, this is the strain. And then you you come across it and you hit they may find a winner, but chances are you're gonna come across that, hit that, and be like, no, dude, you're totally missing, the citrus or the floral that was, in the original or whatever. You know what I mean? You're misleading everybody from the original creation. That's what kind of.
I think that what you're talking about is like, let's say you start to be able to do like genetic testing on the stuff that you're able to smoke. And then it actually shows like how much of a probability that it is the genetic that it's claimed to be. I think that would be really useful uh, for clearing out some of those issues. But other than that, I'm all for anybody doing any breeding they really want to with anyone's genetic. And I think if they make something really good and the market wants it, it's gonna stay around.
Who are some of the people that you've come to respect in the breeding world? Who are some of the folks that you've been honored to meet throughout your cannabis journey?
I've met Mr. Nice. I think that's like the biggest one I met. I met him when I was young, but I have much respect for all the people from all the Dutch and the US seed companies that paved way for the rest of us. And there's like breeders that I haven't been able to try their products that I respect a lot, that were on the forums back in the day that were selling. And there's people that are like doing their thing, they're all kind of working towards getting this all a bit more normalized, I guess. So I don't necessarily like everybody's cultivars, but like I think there's a lot of really good breeders in the States. Uh, and a lot of them, like I think it's hard now because you have so much competition, so not everybody's getting the attention that they deserve. It is hard to really point my finger at like one particular. uh, it's more like the whole industry in general. We're all learning from each other and kind of working towards the same goal. I guess, like from what you were saying, like I really appreciate the breeders that uh, have the true lineage. I think those are some of the breeders that I respect the most, and the people that just do like their own work without really anybody telling them what to do.
Where do you see yourself in 10 years?
Hopefully with bigger greenhouse.
I hopefully so. Hopefully so, my friend. Hopefully so. You see yourself still producing, inbreeding? Do you see yourself maybe following the market into production of flower? Uh, yeah.
And I hope I can just do breeding. That's what I want to do.
Have you ever run into somebody smoking your flower and not know that it's, they've ran into the breeder? Have you ever had that pleasure yet? Of, somebody
Yeah,
enjoying
and
your
like
cannabis?
some of the clubs I have, but yeah, no, I don't get much around. I stay on my farm most of the time.
I can't say I blame you there. So, how do you train your plants? Do you let them come up au natural? If you're just going to run them for yourself, or do you prefer to scrog out your strains? How do you run them?
Yeah, no, I used to do like this. I think it's called West Coast Master Grower. It's like this book. I used to do this news technique. It's like north, east, west, south, where you take like you top the plant. I think maybe after sixth or eighth node, uh, and then you branch it out to northeast, west, and you make like 64 tops into this pattern, so you can fill a whole frame. I used to do that a lot when I grew indoors, uh, and I would make like frames that would fit the tent I had or the grow rooms I had. But now when I do outdoors, I mostly let them just go and see how the structure is. So I don't really train them that much. And I might just train them at the end, if they're starting to be heavy or something, I might just do a little bit, stretch stuff out and pull it apart so I open it more up. But no, I do those styles mostly. I either do like a scrog style training or I don't train it.
What would be the reasoning to spread your plants out northeast, southwest? What's the mindset with that?
It's just like fewer plants and bigger plants. So you get like really efficient yield out of your light.
Right on, right on. I thought it was actually, some kind of like holistic theory, I guess. You know what I
No,
mean? Actually laying the plant true north, east, southwest.
no, yeah,
That
no, I
that
probably
was.
should have done that too. I didn't do that.
I thought you were on some next level shit there, my brother.
I know. Have to do that next time.
So, do you practice any kind of non-traditional methods? We call.
I used to do biodynamic with like biodynamic amendments only. But now I do as little as possible. I do a little bit compost and mulch. Uh, so I guess that's really traditional.
Well, I guess when I say that, I'm like, well, there's a lot of things we kind of discuss around here lately. You watch the show. I mean, as far as crystal inputs in your soil, grounding plants is another one we talk about. Uh, mega cropping, where you're kind of like pinching off in between every node there. There's lots of non-traditional training methods there that you could consider, I guess.
Yeah, no, I don't really. No, no, can't say I do.
Right. Do you what is your main ingestion method? Do you dip? Do you like to smoke? For
I
edibles,
mainly smoke.
greens?
I used to be really big on dabbing, uh, but I started to just go back to flowering a little bit, to flowers a little bit. It's just like I like to taste my stuff for flowers now, and I used to do it with BHO for a long time, uh, like maybe around like 2010, 2009, 2010, those years. I was probably just smoking BHO for a few years, and yeah, it's really different, you know, the flavor profile that you get from the plant. So when I smoke it as a flower, it's like it's easier for me, I guess, to look for stuff that can be good as a flower to smoke than if I do the BHO thing. So, and I smoke it pure too. So like my friends that smoke with tobacco, I don't feel like they're tasting the same stuff that I'm tasting.
So do you find yourself, or at least in the beginning, finding smoking more cannabis uh, than hash? Back in the day, it just seems like it's almost like going backwards in the high. Most of the times when I smoke hash, man, it's that full body, super kind of almost comatose type of high. When you smoke flower, it's such a more of a lighter high there. Did you find yourself smoking a shitload of cannabis back in the beginning of the transition there? And was it just more because of flavor versus the high?
No, I think the high is really good on the weed compared to the hash. Uh, Obviously, it's different, but no, I prefer flower uh, over most hash. Some hash is really, really, really nice, but like those qualities, you know, it's like so low the numbers. Like the really nice, like zeros, like the 99 pure dry sift, when you get like just the heads. I guess that's like that's what I wish you could buy like in the supermarket. Just jars full of that. Let's hope for the future. Then I might stop smoking flowers. I'll just smoke dry sift on the pipe.
I asked this of a lot of the breeders since I talked with Genetic Memory Farms a long time ago. When I talked with him, we kind of came up with a theory that seeded pot was more sedative than the same flower sensibilia. Do you notice there's a different? high in the same strain from seeded to sensibility?
Yeah, I think there's a little bit less crystal production maybe. But other than that, not too much of a difference. I think that comes more down to what time you harvest it.
Let's see here. What have we not covered, my friend? What do you like to do when you're not in the garden, my friend? What is your second passion besides cannabis?
I think farming. I have I really like permaculture and organic farming and stuff like that.
Well, that's definitely a good second. They kind of work hand in hand with each other. I'm sure what you learn there directly applies to your cannabis garden. What kind of veggies or fruits do you like to cultivate?
I have avocados and mangoes and lemons and oranges and papayas, finger limes, like I have a bunch of different fruit trees, as much as I can get my hand on. And then I grow like herbs, carrots, potatoes, tomatoes, salad. Bananas.
So nothing more than growing, huh? Nothing more than growing interests you there. That's a good thing, though. I mean, very focused, I would say.
Yeah, no, I guess a little bit boring like that.
So, are you a one-man team over there, or do you have find some help now and again?
No, it's just me.
Quite the full-time job there, especially shucking them seeds. It's a not a fun task there. Do you produce your own edibles? Do you make anything other than hash with your leftovers?
Yeah, I like to make like brownies and caramels and stuff like that.
You ever make any RSO?
Yeah.
You know, I was thinking tonight, have you ever could you think you could actually use a juicer to finish off your press there? When you're basically you filtered out your alcohol from your cannabis and you're trying to extract what's left in the flower there. Do you think you could actually run that product through the juicer to clean that last bit of oil and alcohol out of the flour, or would there be a risk there, or just
Oh,
a
you might be able,
contamination?
especially if you do like a cold press. That should work. Like to do the apples.
It's nice. I was thinking about that tonight as I was talking to another gentleman today about how to produce his own RSO. And I got thinking about that after the fact. I'm like, I wonder if you could actually use a juicer instead of like, I was basically suggesting like the coffee French press, to actually try to extract that little bit there. But I thought,
You know, I
well,
used
I
to have
wonder if
like
you
an
could use.
extra bubble bag, an old bubble bag or something, and I would just squeeze it in there with the hot gloves.
Yeah, I, I was speaking with a gentleman today, and his wife had cancer, and he was relying on buying it from the store there. And I was explaining the process to him, and suggesting to him he needed to make his own. It was too easy of a process there.
Yeah, it's a shame the cancer patient don't get the medicine for free.
So how we doing there, Magma Seed? Do you think we've pretty much covered it all? Do you want to end this or jump into the weed nerd world? How we doing for time, my friend? I understand it's super.
Yeah, no, I'm good. I think I have to walk my dogs in like 20 minutes or something. The lights are coming on out there. Unless I want my whole family to go crazy. But I can see if I'm able to jump into the weed nerd thing after that.
Yeah, I greatly appreciate taking the time and buying us another night to hang out. I greatly respect you for hanging out as many nights as you have in chat, and I great welcome into the weed nerd world here. The same Zoom link that I sent you this evening is the same link that we use for the weed nerd world, and looking forward to seeing you more now that you came and hang out, man.
You know, again, I appreciate the invite. It's really cool what you're doing for the community, and I think it's good, despite all of our differences, that we're able to come together and share something that we have a common love for.
Yeah, definitely. And I think more people we need to get more people growing. As I've stated many times, there definitely is a medicinal effect to cannabis, either if you use it recreational or if you use it for medicine. But I really believe the best part of cannabis is the cultivation side of cannabis. So the more people that we can get growing, the better. And I greatly appreciate you for cultivating fire strains for people to put in their garden, my friend.
You know, I couldn't have done any of it without all the cool seed companies before me and all the stuff they done. So I'm just happy to
So
be able to take part in it.
if somebody's listening and would like to get a hold of you for some of those fire genetics, how would they do so?
Yeah, they can they can reach me on my website where you can contact me or on IG.
Uh, yeah, I greatly appreciate you taking time to hang out, man. It's been a great conversation and a great meet. Um, Well, one more thing to get from me before I let you go, my friend, and that, of course, is the sound bite. Do you know what I'm referring to when I say the sound bite?
Yeah, I think so.
I sometimes I hate going over it, but I'm glad you know. So I am ready to grab your soundbite anytime you are, my friend. Hold on. No,
Oh, shit. You there? You hear me?
I can hear you, my friend.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, this is Magma Seeds. I'm here talking fucking shit with Eagle. Oh, shit. Was I supposed to say anything more?
Yeah, hopefully, if I can get you to say it anyway, because this
Yeah.
will be at one point an episode or commercial for your episode. You got to tell them which one it is. So basically, minimum, what I'm kind of looking for is, hey, this is Eagle, and I'm on fucking talking shit with Eagle, episode 530. You can add whatever you want before or after that, as long as it's kind of got that in it. Yeah, throw that episode in there so they know which one to look for, my friend.
Cool. Thanks. Okay, I'll do that. Okay. Hey, this is Magma Seeds. I'm here on Eagle episode 530. Fucking talking shit with Eagle. Had a good time. I hope you do too, listening to it.
Thank you, my friend. They did have a good time listening to this. They've
Yeah,
said
no, I'm
nothing
really
but good
appreciate
things
chat
about you
turning
in
into.
chat.
I appreciate chat so much for showing up there. I'm sorry I couldn't show up there myself. I hope I managed to answer the questions okay.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. This has been a great episode. And no worries about not being able to show your face. You have an open invite now. There's always another night, another time, and there's always later.
Yeah, no,
So,
I hope to
you
have
know,
better technical situation in the future. I've been a little bit cramped up here. I've been in the tool shed for most of the episode, going back and forth to roll joints and reconnecting to my charger.
with that being said, don't let that stop you either. We'll take an audio magma seeds if you want to join. We don't necessarily need video. Don't let that hold you back, friend.
That's good.
Well, with that being said, I guess we'll wrap this one up. And I know I'm going to take a quick break and then come back and fire up Weed Nerd World. If you'd like to join me this evening, your invitation starts tonight, my friend. And again, I really appreciate you. I know I do the shout outs as much as I can, but I like to, if they come on the show, thank them firsthand, man. I've seen you in the chat night after night, and I greatly appreciate your support, man. It's the least that I could do to get you on the show, and show you some support. So again, thank you for so much for your time, not just tonight, but every night that you've taken a little bit of time to hang out with myself and the people, the great community that is in chat. So I appreciate you, my friend. I really do.
Thank you, man. Right back at you. I think everybody here is here because of you. So, right back. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, my friend. With that being said, we'll wrap this up. Thank you guys for tuning in to this episode. Hopefully, we will see you in the Weed Nerd world. Don't forget, random acts of kindness do save lives. Please take time to do something nice for somebody. One last time, thank you, Magma Seeds, for hanging out tonight. And I look forward to speaking with you again soon.